This episode features Harry and Buster Griffin from Neal Brothers exploring the maritime side of supply chain logistics, operational excellence, and the impact of AI in the industry. We discover insights into port operations, workforce challenges, and strategic growth in this comprehensive discussion.
Welcome to Supply Chain Unlocked, decoding operations automation in the future of global logistics. Let's get into it.
Welcome, Harry and Buster Griffin. Go ahead and give us your backgrounds. We'll just jump right into it.
I'm Harry, the president of Neal Brothers USA. Neal Brothers is over 100 years old. Started in Leicester, England, export packing and crating. We're still successful in Europe, and we came over to the States about 40 years ago. I've been with the company for 10 years, started sweeping the floors and while I was in college and worked the summers. And over time, I got into sales and management, managed one of our facilities. And now I'm the president of Neal Brothers, and we are in Charleston, South Carolina. We're in Savannah, Georgia, and we're in Jacksonville, Florida. We've got close to 2 million square feet of warehouse space. In the U.S., we do a lot more PL distribution services. We still do the export packing and crating, but our bread and butter business is distribution. And now I'll turn it over to my brother, Buster.
So I'm Buster Griffin. I'm the vice president of North America here at Neal Brothers. I've been here collectively for close to 4 years. There's a gap in there. Been around the industry for my whole life. I like Harry from the ground up. Went to a military college just like Harry. We're 2 years apart, but we have very similar life accomplishments. It's always great to follow in your brother's footsteps and learn more about our business, with his experience. But we attack every day and see how we can better serve our customers. And that's our main goal and purpose.
Glad to hear it, guys. I'll jump right into the questions now. I wanted you guys on the show. One, I saw you on the local news. And what'd you call it, Harry? Maritime?
Maritime Matters. We ran a segment on our local news for the last couple of years, Maritime Matters.
Yeah, and it had like real good information. And the other part is these two are just straight talking folks. I say this often on this podcast. Who I do not want on here is a bunch of C-level vanity talk. And you guys were clearly just down to earth people that the audience could really understand how to get some good execution done. And I don't mean to repeat the monologue, but I'm just going to reiterate that. And the other part that I really wanted you on was the maritime part, because I've never had that on the podcast, one. And two, I've done very little in my 3PL career with the maritime side of it. So why did you guys want to be on the Supply Chain Unlocked?
Well, we always enjoy talking about our company and our industry. You bring up a great point. This is a industry that can be hard to explain. In Charleston, growing up in the business since we were kids, our family's been involved in the maritime community our whole lives. We've got a lot of family that work out on the docks, work as longshoremen and work in the checkers union. And everybody would say, oh, I work on the waterfront. We love that expression, growing up, but it's always been hard to explain. And as we grew up and we got into our business career, people were like, I've heard a lot about y'all, but it's hard to explain. And so I love an opportunity to come on and talk about what we do, because it is the most fascinating industry and it affects everybody's daily lives. I mean, you get up in the morning, you grab a shower, your bar soap, your shampoo, just about everything you do on a daily basis. You order your groceries, you go and drive your car. Every aspect of your life is impacted by what we do. When you walk in any one of our warehouses, you're going to find things that matter in your everyday life. And if we aren't here to support the general public, pandemonium ensues. We saw it a few years ago when toilet paper, there was a shortage in that. People didn't know what they were going to do. We have big rolls of toilet tissue and paper towels in one of our warehouses. So we're impacting people's everyday life. And I don't think people necessarily understand that. So an opportunity to come on and talk about our industry, which is vast and very important, and then talk about our business, Neal Brothers. It's a family-owned business that is multi-generational, multinational, but owned by a single family. And we've grown significantly over the last 15, 20 years in the States. But with that, we've never lost that personal approach to our customers. So that's why I really want to be on here today.
Well, and to touch on that too, I think everybody, the maritime's always been a who you know industry. People get into it because they know somebody. And I think during COVID, a shortage of toilet paper really caused everybody to sit there and say, my gosh, we import toilet paper. So, that it takes a drastic thing like that for people to really pay attention to it. And then you have, a lot of stuff, a lot of uncertainty going on right now. And, our trade is a direct impact to our economy. And if you're in the industry, you see it. I think more as time has gone on and the news is really, putting the maritime as a top priority, people are seeing it now.
And it's funny that Buster says that because, this couldn't be a more perfect time for us to talk to you, Teddy, because we just went to the State of the Port address in Jacksonville. And one of the key takeaways was the guest speaker there. He said, people care about the supply chain and logistics industry like never before. We have the general population's ear and eyes right now. Whereas before, I don't know if people necessarily, I think a lot of it is understanding. The more that we can help people understand, the better off our entire globe is going to be. But right now, people, especially what's going on all around us every day over the last half decade or longer, we have people's attention. And so we have to do things that continue to implement the strategy of understanding about this industry. Because if we don't, while we have people's attention, it could go back to the way it was where people don't really understand it. This is a great opportunity for us to spread awareness so that people understand how wonderful this industry is.
And not only spread awareness, just to piggyback that, and I mean, another huge point that he brought up as well was, I turned 29 this month. My brother's 30, turns 31 in April. We need, motivated, focused, younger people in this industry. It is an older generation industry, and we're on boards with maritime. We want more youth involvement. It's a great.
He's on the board of the Charleston Motor Carriers Association as well, spreading the awareness on the trucking
really?
side. So we do give back, and we try to serve on these committees and boards. I'm going to be chairing a board for the Maritime Association in South Carolina. Buster's absolutely right. There's a little bit of an age gap. And there's a generation that led this industry for a very long time, and there's some up and coming people in the industry, but we've got to get more people involved. And you see it around the country now, Teddy, where colleges have supply chain majors now. There's in the business schools at a lot of these colleges, they have a supply chain major that you can graduate with your degree in supply chain management. And that's something that we've just seen in the last few years, but we need that. We need more people being focused and understanding this industry as they get out of school and get into the business.
Yeah, I think that the supply chain notoriety, or you have the public's ear, really blew up during COVID, right?
Mhm.
Before that, it was very much, it just shit happens and my package ends up at my door.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a 90-inch TV or the tires on that RV I'm looking at. It just happens. And then when COVID happened, we really realized what a disrupted supply chain looks like, and it's really painful.
It
The other
is.
part is the more inefficient your supply chain is for your company, the higher cost it is in time and money. And the
Absolutely.
time is the more important than the actual money most often that I've found. And that is something that I really find interesting on the point of it's now in colleges. I graduated in 2007 with a supply chain management degree, 4-year school, University of North Carolina. So it's been out there a while. I think it's built up. People didn't even know what supply chain meant, but that terminology in the 90s didn't really wasn't around. It wasn't even in like 2005. So good points, guys. Really appreciate those. This is going to feel a little bit like a left turn, but for the audience, a longshoreman, let's get into some of that. Physically, where's your warehouse? Is it like literally on the water? Are you guys offloading ships? Just give the audience a good idea what you guys really do on a day-to-day. or a services basis?
Well, this is where will be the Buster segment, because Buster actually worked for the local stevedoring company in Charleston. He worked at Neal Brothers, and he left and worked for Charleston Stevedoring and came back to us. So he would be, I would consider, an expert on this part of the show. So we'll let him give us. Buster, you kind of touch on that story that Mr. Kenny Riley mentioned too, of how the term longshoreman came up, and then talk about the different roles.
So, Mr. Kenny Riley, he's been the local president, and he's actually international vice president for the union here in Charleston. He told a story about back in the day, the reason that they're called longshoremen is because when the ships would come in, they would be your everyday worker who's working, maybe a garbage man or, a tailor. And when the ships would come, carpentry, when the ships would come in, they would call all the men along the shore for a long day's work to come offload the ships that came into the harbor. So they were along the shore, and they were men, along the shore men. So they called them longshoremen. And your longshoremen are your laborers that are working the vessels, the big Panamax vessels that come in evolution as these ships get bigger and bigger. You have to have a large workforce that is steadily available for these steamship lines that come in. And, they have a USMX contract. They have to use union labor. Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, MSC, all your major steamship lines, they have to use union labor. So they're on the docks working 24/7. I think there's only 4 days that they don't work, holidays. And they're on the deep side, offloading all the containers that come from China, Brazil, Germany, bringing them into the terminal, and then loading them out on trucks to be delivered to the distribution centers, the final receivers, the customers. And they work hand in hand with the checkers who are verifying each container comes off correctly and is put in the proper stack. So it's a steady operation. The work back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it was very hard. They did a lot of bulk, obviously containerized. It's changed the whole game. You're not sending as much bulk. Everything's in a standardized container unit to make transportation simpler and easier and safer. But we steadily rely on our port laborers and union labor and stevedores.
So a longshoreman is one of the crane operators. Or am I oversimplifying that?
No, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I've always thought that would be a cool freaking job. I always wanted to do that for like a half a day.
And just so you know, so we are non-union. We work greatly with our unions here in Charleston. We got the Checkers Union too, that they're checking all of the cargo as it comes in and out. And all of our warehouses are located strategically close to the ports, all within a few miles away. So as the cargo comes off of the terminal, a lot of customers cannot receive directly or cannot receive immediately. And so we will become their distribution center. And a lot of our customers are manufacturers that ship out to multiple locations around the country. And so we'll hold the cargo for them as they set up those deliveries.
So are you is most of your business on the import side, or is it
I would
half and
say I would say that it's the import-export business. We do exports as well, a lot of flat racks as well. We load open air containers that for cargo that is too big to go into a standard container, and we'll load those and turn those into the port to go export as well. And we'll load containers for export. Our business is about 85% distribution. I call that import-export, and then about 15% export packing and crating.
Yeah.
Would you say? Go ahead.
People don't realize America is the largest consumer in the world, especially North America. So majority of the stuff that comes in to our terminals are imports. Charleston is a huge import terminal. There are some manufacturers in the Southeast, Michelin, Hyundai, BMW, that they do export pretty heavily, and it's a majority of our export volume. Baltimore is a huge railroad agriculture terminal. So we actually have a military dock here called the TC dock, and they do all of the military vehicles that they load on the railroad vessels here. So it's really cool to see. You have to kind of be in the work on the dock to see it, but it's very, very cool.
And we're in
So,
Charleston, Savannah, and Jacksonville, which, you know, it changes yearly, but as of the last few years, those are 3 of the top 10 ports by volume in the country.
oh, I didn't realize that. But I've been down there, and you can just feel it, right? Especially those 3. I've been to all 3 of those for one reason or another. Let's move to defining operational excellence. When you think about operational excellence inside the supply chain as a 3PL, how do you personally define it? Is there some type of policy, some type of message that you consistently deliver to your folks that would define that operational excellence?
Our explanation to our teammates and to our customers is simple. It's we are an extension of you. Your customer, they don't necessarily even know who we are in a lot of ways. Our job is to make the cargo get to you the way that it came to us and the way that it left the factory when it was produced. So operational excellence for us is to get it there on time and get it to their end user, their customer, the same way that it was produced at origin. So that's kind of a simple way to put it, but we want to get it. We don't ever want there to be delays, especially not caused by us. And a lot of times, if there are delays, we might be up against the clock. The vessel comes in a week later than expected. It didn't get loaded at time on origin. Their customer's chomping at the bit, and we might have to bring it to the warehouse and cross-dock it, where we're literally pulling it out of a container, checking it into our inventory, and then immediately loading it back out to a truck for a just-in-time inventory. Our job is to do everything that we can to make sure that our customers get their cargo to their final destination on time and with no damages, because our customers, they come and sit with us and look at us in the face and they say, guys, we've never had more competition than we have now. It's the same way with us in the warehousing business. There's so much competition around us. Even what you think could be the smallest hiccup, even a cargo, maybe if something got to the final destination, maybe a day later, it doesn't matter. Our customers the competition is so fierce. There's so many people pounding on their doors saying, hey, if your vendor slips or falls or doesn't come through, we're waiting. We'll do a better job. So we have to be perfect in everything that we do. And you know what? We're human, right? If a mistake is ever made, we have to fix it, and we have to fix it quickly. We're not one to delay. And if there's ever a mistake, you pick up the phone and you call the customer and you say, look, a mistake has been made, but we are going to correct it. And we'll have to send our own truck up there to fix it. Knock on wood, we have over 99% of not having any customer misshipments, but we're human. And so you have to be able to have that relationship. We're in a relationship business, to be able to correct any mistake that you make. But we preach to our team, we are an extension of our customer. And at the end of the day, we have to do whatever it takes to make them whole and to make their end user, their customer satisfied.
How big is Neal Brothers as far as you're part of the North American operation in either revenue or number of employees?
So we have it fluctuates a little bit with our operational team, but we have, anywhere from 80 to 100 employees in the U.S., and we have about close to 2 million square feet of warehouse space. We do anywhere from, 25 to $30 million a year in revenue. There's a lot bigger out there. But we're a family business, and we have another, 400 plus employees in Europe, overseas, and we've got a very similar size in the UK. The UK is where our global headquarters is. We are, I wouldn't say a big corporation or anything like that. We're family owned and operated, but we do have a great presence in our communities in Charleston, Savannah, and Jacksonville, and we've grown quite a bit from where we started to where we are now.
Yeah, so that's a great segue into and this is where the audience usually really engages, what are your bottlenecks in scaling? Meaning, at what point I think you understand what I'm asking. What are the bottlenecks in scaling this kind of a business?
Our number one bottleneck, well, I'll say there's 2. Number one is having skilled laborers, especially in the export packing and crating side. carpentry is a lost art, and finding people that even know how to read a tape measure, swing a hammer can be hard, operate a saw, shoot a nail gun. These are not traits that everyday people do. Shop is not something that they really teach in school anymore. So what we've done is we've engaged with our local technical colleges and high schools, and we go into the schools and speak. We're also a second chance company, and we'll go into our local prisons and jails and speak to reformed inmates and give people second chances that have maybe made a mistake in life and needed a pick me up. Labor is a tough one. That's a big bottleneck. But the second one in terms of bottlenecking growth would be, we have always said that if we ever lost our personal touch with our community and our customer, that we would need to scale back, because we believe in having a standard operating procedure that is uniform across all of our locations. And so when we opened up Savannah and Jacksonville, we implemented the very same strategy that we opened in Charleston. And our processes are exactly the same through all of those locations and how we handle every aspect of our day. And as you grow and as you jump into multiple markets, it can be extremely difficult to recreate the wheel, So we don't ever want to be just some big company, that has locations all over the place, but none of them act the same. We want all of our branches in Charleston, Savannah, and Jacksonville to have a unique identity, one that fits the local community. But at the same time, we know what we've done for a long time, and we've done it very well. So we have to be able to implement that in every market that we're in. And so the reason why we've grown organically in this Southeast region is because we can get from our location in Charleston to our location in Jacksonville in 4 hours along I-90. We can get from Charleston to Savannah in 2 hours. We can get from Savannah to Jacksonville in 2 hours. We can be at any one of those locations in a day. We've actually, Buster can tell you, just last week, he was in Jacksonville, Savannah, and Charleston all in the same day and hit all three of our markets. There's something very special about that. And when you grow into, from regional to maybe nationwide, it creates challenges. And that's where I would say our bottleneck would be. As we look at potential growth opportunities, how do we keep the same procedure and this very, very customer relationship approach going as we grow?
It's
Go
growing.
ahead, Terry.
Sorry, Teddy.
You're
It's
fine. Go
growing.
ahead.
It's growing organically. That's what we strive for. That's what we're trying to do. And I think with Harry, obviously he's heading up Jacksonville perfectly, actually, if I might say. But that's what you have to do. You have to have the same procedures. But it's funny that you asked that, Teddy, because there's a lot of bottlenecking and stuff that's not even our control. With all the stuff that happens outside of our industry that can direct affect it. With stuff going on in the Middle East, and that causing delays in trade and changing routes. When these steamship lines get behind schedule, they might have to offload at another terminal, which could cause them to have to go with another warehouse. So there's a lot of things that can be out of our control that we don't, COVID was kind of a fluff, the trade during COVID. I'm sure a lot of people thought, hey, this is easy. Let me, get into this. Let me open up or expand. And there was great success for a year and a half, and then it just nosedived. And, some companies probably struggled with that because you can't grow drastically like that. You have to grow organically. And we've done a great job of doing that.
Yeah, so let me stick something in there, guys. And this was another reason why I wanted you on the show. Just listening to you on the news, it just felt like, and I think it's now proving out, there's a big piece of not just you two, there's a company culture of just caring. It's not just about growth. And usually when I get inside a company like that in my consulting or project management work, you can feel it. I mean, there's just true love amongst the people. It's not looking for how quick we can get bought out or any of that stuff. And anytime I see a company start to grow, I'm not going to say slowly, but they grow very strategically, like you are growing out of the Southeast, right? Or through the Southeast, and you're keeping a very strong strategy of maybe a 2 hour spread between those. That is truly a strategic decision that you stick to. That getting acquired might be a neat thing and you might be able to tap into other resources, but often it blows up. And I know that from my own career, to be honest with you. So I really commend you guys for doing what you're doing and just having that care or love within your organization because you can feel it. And I would be willing to bet if I started walking your warehouse interviewing folks, I'd get the same feeling because that comes from the top and throughout the organization, right?
It comes straight from our owner, David Neal in England. He reminds us all the time he'll never sell this company. He loves this company. It's all he knows. His son Harry Neal is involved very heavily with us as well, and it's a multi-generational family, and we have a lot of our family. Buster and I, our whole family works here. Just about. We do care, and one thing that we've stressed is our people have to love coming to work every day, and they'll love what they do. And so we do preach that, and we promote it, and we care. And we not only we care about our customers as well. We love our customers. They become our friends. We spend time with them. And they love coming to Charleston. They love coming to Savannah, Jacksonville. But it doesn't hurt that we've got beaches all around us and beautiful weather and great restaurants. And usually when a customer comes to visit, as long as we're doing our job, it's a very quick warehouse visit, and then it's more or less about just spending time together and loving on the customer. And we do that quite a bit. And our people, we love our people. We talk about one of our proudest things is when we have anniversaries of employees, and we have had our time of service is a lot longer than what you would see in a normal industry because our people stick around and they retire with us. They build a career here and they stay. And we've had multiple generations work here under the same roof. That's what makes what we do so fulfilling.
I love the sound of that. One reason why is I was shooting another episode with a guy named Tom Brulette that I worked with at a previous company. That's a huge company internationally. And we never had that at that company. And you're going to see the episode come out probably next week or the week after with Tom. And we talk about that specific thing. They were more concerned about the top line revenue number than anything. I would say 80% of everybody that was there, I was there from 2010 to 2017, and so was Tom. I would say more than 80% of the folks are not there any longer. I think you guys might be the other side of that coin.
We try.
It,
We really try. We want
yeah.
people to stay. We don't sit in an interview and tell somebody that they can have a career and with the expectation they're going to be here for a short time. We really mean it. We want them here for the rest of their career.
So can we return a little bit back to the bottleneck thing for a minute? What I heard was a shortage of skilled labor. You're going out to different places, correctional facilities, the skilled trades, things like that. And that is trying to bring in your own folks for those. Are there other things that you're doing other than that, maybe on social media, something like that, to try to attract the trades?
Well, you've seen, because that's how you found us, that we did the Maritime Matters and we did a lot of other promotional materials, and yeah, we use YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, all these avenues. We've done segments about the day in the life of a manager and kind of walked people around our facilities to show them what we have going on. We're trying to pique interest in people that we don't look for somebody that might on paper look like they would have an intense knowledge of this business. It's really all about a feel. If somebody is hardworking and they're willing to learn, we do a ton of on the job training. You could go around and poll all of our employees, and I would say probably 50% of them had never done what they're doing for us now in their previous roles with other companies. But we do a lot of training, and that's why we're looking for people that are really looking for a career, because for that first year that you're here, we invested a ton of time and resources into training you to be very, very successful. We hate for you to come here and learn all that and then go work somewhere else or go work for a competitor. We want you here. So we do a lot of training and we do a lot of outreach on social media. to try to expose people to this industry and what we do.
I would almost say probably 40 to 50%. Don't hold me down on that percentage, but 40 to 50% of the people that are in the maritime industry, if they went to college, they went to college for something completely different.
Me, I'm one.
Yeah, we have one manager that went to school for biology, and she's a manager of one of our sites. We have another manager that went to school for nutrition, and she runs our biggest facility. So it's really about your work ethic. And I think that's the number one thing we push. Harry and I and Harry and Neal, we all work very hard, and we want to surround ourselves with people who care about making Neal Brothers great.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. I got stuff flashing in my screen. Okay, I can see you again. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the other part is market, and I'm going to ask this because this came from the audience twice now I would say in a little bit of an assertive way, and it's around marketing. How do you market a 3PL company that, if a lot of your businesses, it's somewhat of an import operation, are your marketing efforts obviously would be international at that point or no? And how do you do it?
There's really marketing locally is almost impossible because 95% or more of our customers, they're not in Savannah or Jacksonville or Charleston. They are overseas. We work with a lot of manufacturers that are manufacturing in South America, Europe, Asia. The list goes on and on. Our marketing locally tends to be more about recruiting and hiring. And then our other marketing, I would say we go to trade conferences around the world. We have to. We have to go promote our business and see people that we will never get to see unless we go to these trade conferences. And then word of mouth, referral business. You wouldn't believe how many people reach out to us and go, hey, I got your number from, they're a member of we said earlier, we're part of the maritime associations. We're part of the traffic clubs and all these other things. Even like freight forwarders, they have their own associations, and they'll go and we'll go to those, and then they'll hear about us. And so referrals is a huge part of our business. Or, this is another key aspect of how we are able to obtain new relationships. We start working with somebody who's at a company for many years, and then they go to somewhere else and they enjoy doing business with us. So when they go to their next place, they start calling on us there as well. So that tends to be how we're able to get business. We have to be willing to travel anywhere and everywhere. We got to be able to get on a plane today with the shirt on our backs sometimes to go and drum up business. It happens. It's happened before. We've had people jump on a plane and go to Chile the same afternoon to try to pick up some new business. So it's a very unique international worldly experience promoting this business and drumming up new customers. But in terms of locally, most of your major players in customs broker, freight forwarder, that sort of thing, they will have an office in all of your major port cities. So we do have to go call on them and pull their doors and talk to their import and export teams. But we also have to be able to promote this business on a global scale.
Speaking of that, on a global scale, do you guys do any type of lead generation through email marketing, what they refer to as cold email? Or
we do, but we do a little bit, but we don't do enough of it. But we also we struggle with the idea of not having that personal connection. We've never been one to just mass email people. We've never been a company that's just bought a list of names and sent out the same email to 100, 200, 500 people. We do strategically have some software that we utilize, but it's very targeted. We know what kind of businesses we want to work with, and we go after those businesses.
One thing I was going to say is, as technology is growing, one major tool is LinkedIn. But I'd say the number one marketing for us to obtain new business is ourselves. Do a good job for somebody. Like Harry said, the word's going to spread. And, I lost art, and this newer generation is, you can send cold emails as much as you want. But if you pick up the phone and talk to somebody and have a relationship with them, dude, I'm 29 years old. or about to be 29 years old. I'd rather talk to somebody on the phone. I'll follow up with an email. That's how you're going to build your relationship. If you go to these, the Breakbolt conference in Rotterdam or Houston, and you meet these people, you're going to want to talk to them on the phone. That's how you're going to build your relationship. You reminisce on the good times you had at the conference, and then you follow up with, hey, let's do something together. Let us prove our worth. And you make sure that first shipment is done correctly.
Our best marketing tool is Buster. I mean, who doesn't love this guy? I mean, everybody he talks to, every conversation he has, he's a lot more than a mascot, but he is the epitome of our company. And everybody that we talk to says, how's Buster? They love Buster. So we're very lucky to have him.
So I felt that when I had the original pre-podcast call with Buster, there was no doubt of that. And I was like, this is worth everybody's time to get together. Your company culture, Buster, etc. Guys, let's move towards the manual versus automated work. And put it in two buckets. There's stuff that goes on the floor, in the warehouse, stuff like that. And the reason to have this discussion is in and around AIs. I'll set the stage because I'm in the AI business. I've been doing AI since, real AI. And sometimes I have to set the stage about what really AI is. But if we don't need to do that, that's understandable. But since 2017, one thing I've noticed is AI has very little impact yet inside the warehouse. Where AI really has potential impact is inside the office. So where are you guys applying AI, or what do you guys think in general about AI in those two buckets?
Buster, you go first.
Well, I think AI is, at first nobody wanted to use it. ChatGPT is more used than anything now. It's a quick answer. If you have somebody who sends you over some dimensions, we use a different scale than overseas and in Europe. It's a quicker solution so you can get a realistic quote back to your customer. But, AI kind of opens the doors to different things. I mean, the technology out there now, Teddy, is unreal. I met with somebody the other day, Dextery. They sell a great product. They actually have a machine that can drive around your warehouse, and it can be up to, 300,000 square feet. And it scans 10,000 boxes, I think, an hour. It's insane. So it gives you just in time inventory. Takes away somebody doing, a manual checklist every day to look at the manual inventory, hours of labor, days of labor, actually. So there's AI's opening the doors to, I guess, more technologically advanced pieces of like a distribution center or 3PL. They even have forklifts now that are computer generated, and they run off a set path track. It's insane. It's more utilized, I would say, that type of equipment over in Europe, but I could definitely seeing it be more, involved over here in the States. So it's cool to see. Our industry is a little bit different. We do a lot of picket fence and wood and dimensional lumber, bigger machines, a lot of project cargo, but we do a lot of palletized stuff as well. So it's intriguing to see that kind of technology.
Is that kind of technology? I'm trying to hedge towards what exactly that AI is. And here's why since I've started the podcast, I've really, just blatantly realized how much people are using the term AI, and there's truly not AI involved at all. And what I mean by that is to truly be part of AI, your technology stack needs to be connected to something like an LLM that's an agent that runs information to the LLM. If it's not that, it's not AI. In other words, there's not machine learning in there. But when you talk about a forklift running different routes through the warehouse that might be fixed, you're getting on the tinge of AI if it's hooked to a large language model, because it's looking at continuous efficiency of the route. And so I'm going to ask this question, Buster, is that what it's acting on? When they were talking about their technology, Were they saying specifically that it's going to get more and more efficient as it ran its routes around the warehouse?
In those talks, I don't think really. I think it sustains the same efficiency. I'm sure they can improve it to make it more efficient. But if you look at like California, they have terminals like Long Beach. It's a private terminal owned by OOCL, and every machine in there is run by it's robotic, even putting the containers away. So maybe they can, integrate more AI to be more efficient because their number one priority on these terminals is productivity. Maybe they can install, some sort of AI database into it to go that way. I mean, that's a very good question. Something that I could definitely look more into, but it's intriguing to see. People can YouTube it. If you get a chance, YouTube it. Automated port LA. It's insane to see.
Sorry, were you going to say something, Harry? I kind of talked
No,
over
no,
you there
no.
for
I'm
a second.
listening. Buster's he's meeting with people. Reach out to us all the time that have new software, new opportunities with our vendors and technology and all that. And Buster's leading the charge on that for us. So I've always said to let the smarter people talk. So if I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. So I'm just listening because I love what he's doing. He's helping bring our company into the 21st century. Shipping business has always been old school, and we've noticed around us that people are utilizing technology in ways never before to get somewhat of a competitive advantage, and we cannot be reactive. We have to be proactive. So he's actually going to Nashville to go to a conference that is going to be structured about these technological advancements within the warehouse. And I think he's going to learn some really cool things when he goes.
Is that the one in May? It's May or June. I can't remember. I can't think of the name of the conference at the moment. But anyhow, are you guys doing anything in the office with specifically AI starting to get structured data, anything like that?
We
A
are.
lot of time you see it in freight bill, audit and pay, things like that. Go ahead.
We're not actively doing that, but we have had those discussions of how we integrate AI more and increase efficiency. And so we will continue to have those conversations, but I'm a very analytical, data-driven person. I've been pushing that in my role
Numbers
now.
don't lie.
Do what?
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. That's right. Teddy, in terms of sales approach to AI, I had this gentleman tell me one time the easy terminology to describe AI would be average of the internet. And that kind of stuck with me because when it comes to sales and researching new companies and that sort of thing, it's going to pull all the information that's on the internet and kind of give you that average. And so you have to be very strategic about how you utilize it. And I do this quite a bit. I already know sometimes I know the answer and I plug it into some of this AI software just to see what it'll come up with, to see how accurate it'll be. We ask it questions about our company all of the time to see what it says about Neal Brothers. And so I think it's a tailored approach when it comes to how we implement it in the office in terms of sales, because it's only going to be as good as the information that you're putting into it. Where my struggle is with AI and how much we give it, it's that I don't want any of our guys or girls putting our proprietary information into a database, especially if they're using a free program, unless you are able to tailor it to a way that they're not able to utilize that data elsewhere. I don't ever want our proprietary information in a database.
So that's a good point, Harry. And it's the security piece, right? And that's what that's like one of my upfront questions during discovery. And it's strong advice. It's not just quasi advice. It's if you're going to do an LLM, it's an LLM that's internally housed within your organization. You're only pulling data from the outside world when it's needed for like a ChatGPT or Gemini connection to that LLM. But your internal stuff, 100%, that's got to stay that way. And that's another thing that I notice with folks, especially at the C-level area, that they don't realize there's a difference between an internal and an external LLM, which I just find interesting. Let me ask you, I'm going to try not to opinionize this. I'm going to try to just blatantly ask it. Do you see where AI will replace jobs or make people more efficient so they can do stuff, and I literally mean stuff, faster and for less cost?
I think that maybe 50 years from now, yes. I don't see it replacing our industry anytime soon. But as Buster alluded, just on the West Coast, they've got automation that has taken away jobs on ports. So it's only a matter of time before those discussions happen over here on the East Coast and in the South. But currently, I would say that there's no risk of anybody in our organization losing their job to AI. I think that as it evolves over the next few generations, or at least the next few decades, I'm sure that there's going to be a time where it can run your AP and AR for you, and it can do accounting functionality and sales management and other things like that. But my whole Buster's talked about it. His favorite thing, the most important thing he does is call customers. I will say I was shocked when I went to book an oil change and I was booked by an AI person for an oil change. And they even had the background music where it sounded like I was talking to somebody at a call center. And it's just pumped in music, and that it's a complete AI, the entire thing. And it was so efficient. The conversation was booked so easily. And I went to my appointment and my oil change got done and there was no hiccups. So just based off of that, there's going to be a day where you don't need a schedule anymore. You don't need schedulers. It can be done by the computer. So I think we're going to see that all of that is going to be probably the most interesting concept over the rest of Buster and I's working career, is how artificial intelligence infiltrates our industry and what efficiencies or inefficiencies, for that matter, come about from it.
Well,
Yeah,
and
go ahead, Harry.
sorry.
Buster, go ahead.
And two, I mean, my main focus is how can I use this data to make us better? Can we get faster data to see how we can be more productive? We don't have any aspirations of, that taking over somebody's job. It's mainly of how can we get a standardized, dashboard so we can see productivity? Can we make it more efficient? I think just like we've seen self-checkout at a grocery store, a lot of people still use that. They'll go up to their, a checkout person. It's really depends on maybe what you feel comfortable with. You can put a machine to do a job, but you lose that personal connection. And I think our business solely relies on a personal connection, that people want to work with. You're thousands of miles away from somebody. You want to work with somebody you can trust, and trust is a huge part of our business.
Yeah, I can say this. So what you're talking about, Harry, is AI attendant, and that is like widespread. The other one is go to an Arby's. I remember the first time I saw it was Augusta, Georgia in 23, I want to say it was. Something like that, 23, late 23. Yeah, go through the Arby's drive-through. There's not a human taking your order anymore. Now I will say this, after being a project and a program manager, people want to talk about it replacing jobs. I haven't seen it replace one. I'm being dead serious. It hasn't replaced one. If there's two things that go on. Executives want this big bang, and they'll put $10 million to $20 million on the line to make this work. And the projects that have exploded, and the stats show this too, when they're trying to replace humans is when it blows up. And I can say I've experienced that, because we were going after trying to eliminate jobs, and it was costing us millions. Most of those projects were just flat out canceled because we knew we weren't going to get there. The projects that are working are making people more efficient in how to do something so they can do those repetitive tasks, or never touch them. And the reason I'm saying any of that is when you have these conversations with technology companies, we already know what's failing. Let's focus on, does it do this? Does it make our people more efficient? Like black and white, does it make them more efficient? Because those are the successful projects that I watch happen all the time. And that's the basic statistic out there now in the last 4 months, I would say. Sorry to me to get into all those things. The last thing I think I would want to talk about is leading cross-functional teams and what you guys, both of you guys, I'm sure have this, especially when you engage your customer for the first time, getting to the point of processes and understanding their processes, how you guys fit in. You're working with cross-functional teams. In that scenario, how do you guys do it? And is it a set way that you guys run cross-functional teams?
So I'll start off. One thing that we do is we have a managers meeting every week. We touch base with all of our locations. I tell Buster and Harry, Neal, that the three of us have to be we have to work from a very, very high level. We've got to let our managers lead. But having that awareness of meeting with the managers on a weekly basis allows us to get feedback of what they all have going on and sort of strategizes us of what we have for the week ahead and what we've got upcoming. So that's one thing that we do, because it is very difficult having so many locations in 3 different states. But getting all of the managers together once a week for a good hour, hour and a half helps us be extremely successful in this approach that we have that's multi.
So, Buster, what's your thoughts on managing cross-functional teams?
Well, we just have to have the same goal. Our customers use different inventory systems. Usually I like to have a standard operating procedure when we have a new customer to see what their expectations are so we can make sure that we're achieving it. And our managers stay in constant communication with our customers to make sure they're fulfilling those goals that are set. And, some people use Microsoft based inventory. We have to find ways to make it communicate with theirs and, just really pushing our managers. Like Harry said, we're there to help them every step of the way. But, that's the whole reason that they're managing the facility is they're the leaders on the ground. So
I got you.
we have full belief in our managers at each site.
Yeah, it's not hands off, but it's enough to help give them guidance, right? And know that you're there. You can't let them run awry. All right, guys, I've enjoyed this. Seriously, we'll start landing the plane. What kind of advice in your industry do you have for the younger folks coming up, or how you could get a job within a maritime 3PL? Like, I'm going to call it that. Is it okay to call you a
Sure.
maritime 3PL?
Yeah, sure.
What kind of advice do you have for people wanting to get into the industry and some of those avenues?
I'll start it off. The biggest thing I would say, if you're in supply chain management, maybe one things that I wish I would have done. Of course, you look back, you have no regrets. Do an internship. Come work a summer. Maybe bounce around between a warehouse to a trucking company. The port. Internships are huge for younger adults that are in college. Run them your sophomore summer, your junior summer, and then, by the time you graduate, you can tone in on a decision. But I think internships are huge just to kind of get an understanding because, like we've talked about in this whole podcast, it's always been a who you know. The more people you know in the industry, the more you'll like it. I mean, it's honestly, I enjoy just maybe going and grabbing lunch with somebody who, might be a trucker, or, is a broker. You build a relationship up with somebody and, learn more about them. It doesn't always have to be about work, but that, and then if you don't want to take the college aspect and you want to, go into the workforce, really hit the ground running. I mean, come in and just show up to work and show you want to be here. Take your job seriously. Look at it as a career, not a job. Give it all your effort. And, the opportunities are endless.
He said it
Hey,
so well.
maybe that's the title of this episode, A Career, Not a Job.
That's right.
That's actually that's the number one thing that we say in our interviews. We don't want you to look at it as a job. We want you to look at it as a career.
And that's probably why you guys have people there 15, 20 years or better, right?
Right.
We actually have one guy that's been here for 43 years.
Holy smokes.
No.
That's almost older than the two of you combined. No, I'm joking. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and land this plane. I really appreciate the information. I think the audience will find this really value packed by all means. And one thing I'll say too is for your marketing, if you want snippets of any of this, you can have that. the transcript, anything you want, you can have, because I truly appreciate your time. Buster, thank you. You and I had a 30-40 minute pre-podcast as well. While Harry was, I don't know what Harry was doing. He was in some hospital, something like that. No,
If you got any questions, please reach out. Anything we can do to support the audience. I think this has been a great thing that Harry and I both appreciate you inviting us on it. And we want more people to know about this industry. I think this podcast is a great tool to help spread the knowledge of, supply chain, not just the maritime. And, really thank you for the opportunity, Teddy.
Can't thank you enough, Teddy.
thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop now.
Welcome to Supply Chain Unlocked, decoding operations automation in the future of global logistics. Let's get into it.